The story jumps back to 3 months earlier. During dinner, a fork slipped from Eric's hand and fell to the floor. Right away, the mood turned tense. His stepfather didn't ignore the small mistake. He shut the door and beat Eric as punishment. Eric's mother knew what was happening, but did nothing. She told herself that these beatings would make Eric more obedient. After every violent episode, Eric had to act like he was okay and pretend to make peace with the man who hurt him. Over time, the abuse became a regular part of his life. But deep inside, Eric's anger kept growing like a fire waiting to explode. Eric's anger finally exploded into violence he couldn't control. He often attacked his classmates and sometimes hurt them badly during his outbursts. People around him were too scared to say anything because of his reputation. The fights kept getting worse, and the principal eventually had enough. After one serious fight, Eric was called to the office. The principal told him he was expelled, there would be no more chances. Eric's mother suggested he connect with Gunnar, an experienced lawyer and her longtime friend. Gunnar gave Eric a business card, but Eric just stared at it in silence. After Gunnar left, his mother showed clear disappointment over his expulsion. Then, to Eric's surprise, she revealed she had enrolled him in Starburg, a boarding school for boys. She made it clear this was his final chance and hoped he would take it seriously, learn from his mistakes, and change for the better. Eric promised himself he would try harder and not repeat his past mistakes. He was determined to finish school without any more trouble. On his first day at the new school, wearing a clean uniform and a fresh haircut, he began a new chapter in his life. His roommate, Pierre, was known as the smartest student there. Luckily, Pierre was kind and easy to talk to, and they quickly became good friends. That evening, Eric and Pierre went to the dining hall for dinner. There, Eric met Johan, another student who introduced him to the school's unique traditions. Johan explained that, at this school, how others treated you wasn't just about your personality, it also depended a lot on your social status. After Johan finished speaking, he noticed a student sitting next to Eric being called out by 2 boys at the end of the table, Otto and Alan. They were sons of wealthy aristocrats, while the student came from a regular background. Otto and Alan were known for bullying students who were less privileged. Backed by their powerful families, they acted without fear of consequences. Their roles on the student council gave them even more control, letting them punish others freely. After dinner, Pierre asked Eric to join him for a smoke. Eric was hesitant, but remembered his promise to his mother not to break any rules and refused. Johan warned them that the punishment for getting caught would be harsh, but Pierre dismissed the risk. After some pressure, Eric reluctantly agreed to go. The next morning at breakfast, Otto and Delay approached Eric and said they wanted to welcome him with a traditional initiation. Eric refused without hesitation. Offended, Otto and Delay turned their attention away from Eric and decided to target Johan instead. That night, a speeding car hit Johan, leaving him badly injured and in the hospital. Meanwhile, Otto and Dylan began planning their next act of bullying, this time aimed at Eric. They summoned him to the student council room and ordered him to clean a pile of dirty shoes on the floor. Eric refused and walked away. Furious at his defiance, Dylan asked Otto what to do next, but Otto decided to wait for a better moment. Afterward, Eric found Pierre and shared everything with him, feeling anxious and frustrated by the unfairness of it all. Pierre listened in silence, his expression tense as Eric explained everything. He warned that going against Otto and Dylan would only lead to trouble, since those who defied them were often harshly punished. But Eric, once a bully himself, dismissed the warning and insisted he wouldn't back down or follow their orders. That night, he and Pierre tried to find a way to stand up to Otto and Dylan without using violence. However, their efforts led nowhere. Most students chose to stay quiet, accepting humiliation to avoid getting hurt. The next morning, Dylan bumped into Eric in the hallway. Instead of apologizing, he arrogantly demanded that Eric take the blame. Eric refused, believing he had done nothing wrong. Angered by Eric's defiance, Dylan challenged him to a fight at a specific location. That night, Eric went to the meeting spot, bringing Pierre and Johan for support. On the way, Pierre kept warning him that Otto and Dylan were known for fighting dirty, often bringing backup to overpower their opponents. That night, Eric was ready to accept Dylan's challenge and face him directly. However, he remembered his mother's advice about staying focused, avoiding trouble, and working toward a better future. This made him change his mind. Back in his room, Pierre tried to comfort him and helped ease his anxiety. Meanwhile, at the meeting spot, Otto, Dylan, and their group kept waiting. When Eric didn't show up, Otto smugly claimed that Eric was nothing more than a coward, too afraid to confront them. The next day, Otto publicly revealed a list of students who had disobeyed the student council, with Eric listed first. In a mock trial, using his authority as student council president, Otto sentenced Eric to a month of hard labor. Eric was ordered to dig a 1-meter-deep trench around the school. He worked through the night, exhausted and covered in sweat, but couldn't finish on time. As a result, he had to eat dinner alone in an empty hallway. While he ate, Maria, a cafeteria worker, noticed him. She became curious as Eric shared his story, which reminded her of her own brother. Maria went on to say that her brother had also been rebellious and never followed authority. After dinner, she unexpectedly returned to check on Eric and reminded him to take care of his health. To Eric's surprise, she gently kissed his cheek and hugged him tightly. Both knew that any romantic connection between a student and a staff member was strictly against the school's rules. If anyone found out, Eric could be expelled and Maria would lose her job. Still, that brief moment became an unforgettable memory for both of them. That night, Eric and Maria ignored the rules. During the Christmas break, Eric went home. His mother welcomed him warmly, but his stepfather remained cold. He questioned Eric about the punishments he had faced, including his suspension. Eric explained that he had refused to follow the orders of a student from a powerful family. His stepfather disagreed, saying that someone from a noble family deserved respect and obedience. He also criticized Eric for his bad grades and the trouble he had caused at school. After that, Eric's stepfather beat him again. His mother saw how much he was hurting, but still did nothing to stop it. When the Christmas break ended, Eric returned to school. The first thing he did was find Maria, whom he had deeply missed. Under the moonlight, they reunited, holding each other tightly and finding comfort together. When Otto and Dylan heard Eric was back, they quickly planned another prank. This time, they tried to pour dirty water on him while he slept, but their plan failed. Eric and Pierre woke up in time and quickly cleaned up the mess. This time, Eric decided to take revenge. Late at night, he quietly sneaked into Otto's room, turned off the lights, and poured dirty water on him while he was sleeping. The next morning in the dining hall, Eric made sure everyone could hear him. He walked around the room, pretending to follow a bad smell. Then he stopped in front of Otto, who was eating breakfast, and called him filthy. Otto was furious, enraged that Eric had dared to humiliate him in front of everyone. Otto ran up and punched Eric. Even though he was being beaten badly, Eric refused to fight back. He held on to the promise he had made to his mother to stay out of trouble. Nearby, the principal and teachers sat at a table, eating as if nothing was happening. Seeing this, Maria stepped in and asked Otto to stop. She felt frustrated that Eric kept enduring the abuse without defending himself, but she also admired his strength. Realizing they couldn't break Eric's spirit, Otto and Dylan decided to target someone else, Pierre, Eric's roommate and only friend at the school. During lunch, Otto called Pierre over, but Pierre refused, saying he had done nothing wrong. Otto, unwilling to back down, challenged Pierre after school and threatened him with harsh punishment if he didn't comply. Together with Aylin, Otto began targeting Pierre on purpose, hoping to provoke Eric. They knew Eric wouldn't stay silent if his best friend was being bullied. Their plan was clear: to force Eric to step in, confident that no one at the school would dare to challenge their power. That night, Pierre had no choice but to accept the challenge. He went to the battleground where Otto, Dylan, and their gang were already waiting. Pierre knew this wasn't just a fight, it was a test of his courage and determination. Even though he was outnumbered and outmatched, he told himself he had to stand his ground and not give in to fear. But Pierre's strength quickly faded. With just a light hit from Otto, he collapsed. Eric watched in shock as his best friend lay motionless, humiliated, and treated like nothing more than entertainment. By the time Eric arrived, it was too late. All he could do was carry Pierre back to their room and treat his injuries himself. After making sure Pierre was stable, Eric told him to rest and quietly left. That night, he went to find Maria, needing someone to talk to and release the frustration and helplessness he felt. The next morning, more threats came from Otto's group. Worried about Pierre, Eric hurried back to their room and stayed by his side, realizing now more than ever that Pierre needed his protection. When Eric returned to the room, he was shocked to find it empty. Pierre had left and taken all his belongings. On the bed, only a letter remained. In the letter, Pierre thanked Eric, calling him the only true friend he had ever known. He apologized for leaving but encouraged Eric to stay strong. Pierre asked him to keep standing up to Otto and his gang and to help end the cycle of injustice and violence at the school. The words in Pierre's letter lit a fire inside Eric, strengthening his resolve. He knew he couldn't let Pierre or the other victims down. For the first time, Eric understood his true purpose, not just to stand up for his friend, but to fight for justice, for all the students suffering under Otto's control. Without hesitation, Eric went to the dining hall and confronted Dylan, making it clear he was ready to challenge Otto. He was determined to end the cycle of fear and abuse. An hour later, Eric stood alone in the arena, facing Elaine and von Scheenen, two students known for their great physical strength. Elaine and von Scheenen relied on their family's power, not real skill. Using speed and smart tactics, Eric quickly defeated both, leaving them on the ground. The crowd fell silent, and all eyes turned to Otto, stunned by the loss of his strongest allies. Eric, full of confidence, stepped forward to challenge him. Before the final fight, Eric went to the school kitchen to find Maria, hoping for support. But when he arrived, a staff member told him Maria had been fired and already left the school. The news came as a shock. Maria's absence shocked Eric, but it only strengthened his determination. He reminded himself that he had to keep going for everyone who had suffered. A staff member quietly gave him a letter from Maria, just like the one Pierre had left. As Eric held it, he felt a deep sadness. The letter was filled with her final words, offering support and wishing him strength. One of Otto's followers saw Eric receive the letter and quickly told Otto. Soon after, Otto and his group stormed into Eric's room without hiding their intentions. They began searching through his things and eventually found Maria's letter. Otto read the letter out loud, revealing the secret relationship between Eric and Maria. Seeing this as the perfect chance to punish Eric, he held up the letter like a trophy. Confident he had proof, Otto rushed to the principal and handed over the letter as evidence. The principal didn't take long to decide. He quickly summoned Eric and, with a serious look, announced his expulsion for major rule violations, especially involving Maria. Faced with punishment, Eric stayed calm and didn't resist. He accepted his expulsion, but before leaving, he asked for Maria's letter, the only thing he had left of her. The principal refused and locked it away as part of the violation record, as if erasing Eric's memories. Expelled and separated from both Maria and his friends, Eric felt like he had lost everything. But that pain lit a fire inside him, fueling a new determination to keep going. After everything Otto had done, Eric couldn't leave Starburg without settling things. With nothing left to lose, he was ready to confront Otto, no matter the result. He tracked Otto to a quiet, empty forest, where Otto was walking alone. Eric stood before him holding a stick, his eyes cold and determined. Seeing Eric's unshakable resolve, Otto, who had always used power to control others, suddenly lost all his arrogance. Shaken and afraid, he slowly knelt down. In a panic, Otto pulled out $10,000 from his coat, trying to bribe Eric to spare him. But Eric refused. As Eric's anger grew, Otto completely broke down. He cried, begged, and even vomited from fear. Seeing how pathetic Otto had become, Eric paused. He bent down, held Otto's face, and looked into his terrified eyes. He made it clear he wouldn't kill him, choosing not to find satisfaction in someone else's suffering. In that moment, Eric wasn't just speaking to Otto, he was affirming the kind of person he wanted to be. Leaving a terrified Otto behind, Eric returned to the school, packed his things, and prepared to leave. He then remembered Gunnar, the lawyer who had once offered to help. Eric reached out and told him everything. Soon after, Gunnar arrived at Starburg, confident and ready to seek justice. After hearing the full story, he and Eric went straight to the principal's office. There, the principal sat relaxed, drinking and surrounded by faculty, completely unfazed by Eric's return. Eric stood before the principal, asking to stay at the school and to have Maria's letter returned. But the principal refused, saying Eric didn't deserve any mercy. At that moment, Gunnar stepped in, warning the principal to reconsider. If he didn't, Gunnar would reveal everything from the bullying to the class discrimination the school had allowed. Cornered, the principal gave in to Gunnar's pressure. He accepted all of Eric's requests, including returning Maria's letter and dissolving Otto's student council. The decision ended a long period of oppression and gave hope to the students who had suffered. Eric was deeply grateful to Gunnar for helping him protect his rights and change the school's toxic environment. With Gunnar's support, Eric stayed at Starburg and ended the oppressive rule led by Otto. In the following days, the school became more peaceful. Eric focused on his studies and made the most of his final time there. When he graduated, he left with proud achievements and the respect of many students. Eric's mother was proud of his achievements and how he had overcome hardship. His stepfather, however, remained the same, still blaming and criticizing him. But this time, Eric was unaffected. He had proven his strength. When his stepfather tried to hit him again, Eric stood his ground and made it clear that violence would no longer be tolerated in their home. Eric no longer wanted to live in fear, so he decided to remove his stepfather from the house, ending years of pain. In time, he began to rebuild his life. He later reunited with a close friend who was leaving for Geneva to study, and they promised to stay in touch. With that, Eric felt free and hopeful again, ready to face a brighter future.